we say we're infinite beings and you believe your spirit is limitless. Now it's about applying that to your financial sovereignty. And like I always say, you cannot be sovereign and not have your finances in order. And for some reason, in the spiritual community, I don't know what happened along the threads, but people who teach, some of these spiritual leaders and so forth, they have severed the ties when it comes to financial wealth. And that is not spiritual, that is scarcity. And that contraction is what we are dismantling today. So, this conditioning that we all been programmed in has made us divide ourselves consciously about how much money we should have. These thoughts of money is evil, people who are wealthy are evil. All of that is part of a mindset that suppresses us. And I say us because I do consider myself a spiritual person. However, what I don't condone in my own consciousness, as well as anybody who has worked with me, my clients, my students, what I don't condone is this level of broke and scarcity that literally is a plague and a disease to our evolution. And so we have to start having better and more clear conversations about this. And it comes from, as we know, so just like how you go through a spiritual journey and you awakened and you go through those systemized conditionings that have been installed, it's an alchemical process. And if you understand Kemetic teachings, you understand that there's an order, there's stages of awakening. You just don't awake and you have arrived. You never arrive. You keep going. And because we're infinite beings. And so as you grow and mature into your spiritual journey, you gain wisdom of understanding that you are timeless and consciousness continues to expand. And the more you align to that consciousness, the more you expand as a human being. And so that right there is freedom. So congratulations. But it's not all, because what happens, and this is what I see all the time, and y'all could comment and ask me whatever you want to ask me. We become intoxicated, if you will, as a collective with the disorder of the freedom. What do I mean by that? I mean that a lot of people who have broken away from the system, they now feel that freedom inside of them. And it feels great. It feels blissful. It feels liberating. However, they don't organize themselves back into the order of what it is to really be sovereign and to provide structure for yourself. So this is where you see a lot of people who are severely disorganized in their thoughts, in their behaviors, in their actions. And yet they are people who are serving in these communities, and they're talking about abundance, but yet they haven't embodied what abundance truly is. And so that is a form of enslavement from a person who says that they're quote unquote free. And when I talk about divorce and scarcity, the first thing I want to say, we will never not have thoughts of scarcity, just like how we understand ourselves. And if you are advanced spiritual being, you know what I'm talking about. Just like we can't separate ourselves from suffering. Suffering is upon us. Suffering is everywhere in the world. However, that doesn't mean that you have to choose to experience the suffering. That is the big difference. So when it comes to the scarcity thought forms, you have a choice of either experiencing that or you choose not to experience that. So that's the first thing, to know that you have a choice. And within that choice, you start to do things different. You stop listening to people who have, when they're talking about money, there is a ceiling. And it's because they haven't surpassed the ceiling inside their own consciousness. So they can't even go beyond what it really is to really live a wealthy mindset. Because people who are wealthy, what has happened in their process is that they adopted a wealthy mindset. They adopted the level of knowing that there is more and there will always be more. And they're not afraid to continue to receive. And the most important piece that a lot of people don't see is the work. There is a lot of work that one has to do in order to become that frequency so you can receive the money that you desire. So let's talk about desire. You have desire and then you have wants. So desire is claiming those inner divine expressions that is clean and pure. And when you visualize yourself in that experience of the desire, it feels pure in a way where it is your divine expression. And so if you want to call it God, Allah, Jesus, Buddha, whoever, it is part of a consciousness, and we are part of that divine consciousness. And desires come from divine consciousness. So when we are experiencing our desires, we are actually living in our authentic truth. There's a difference between the purity of the desire versus what I call an ego desire. An ego desire has manipulation attached to it. And that could be a desire of being with somebody, but yet that somebody that you are quote unquote desiring is married. Okay, that's a different level of desire. That's an ego desire. That is not pure. That is hindered in harm. Okay. Whereas a spiritual divine desire is coming from a place of seeing the vision inside your mind's eye, your seer's eye. And from there, when you see it in your vision, you can feel it in your nervous system. You can feel it in your being. And within that, you know that that is the life that is for you to execute and live. And I don't know if y'all noticed, but that vision is your future version. Some people call it another timeline, another dimension. We'll just keep it in very plain terms. It's your future version asking you to receive her or to receive him. And so you say, okay, yes, I want to receive that. I know that I'm meant to live that life. Okay, great. So now your present version has to do the work in order to merge into that timeline. And that's the part that people tend to shy away shy away from. So instead of organizing your present self into what your vision, what your future self is telling you to do, and like literally giving you clear instructions, putting people in your place in front of you and saying, this is the person that's going to guide you from A to Z. There's a level of resistance there. And it's because your past self is actually commanding your present self. So the version of yourself that broken free from, we'll just call it the matrix, and you broken free from the system, that version is still traumatized from order, from authority. And so when there is that instruction to actually create more order in your life so you can get to that other state, your inner dialogue resists. And if your inner dialogue is not resisting, your nervous system is resisting, because your nervous system is still disorganized from your past version. I trust that you are following me on this. So how do you break free from that? You must start implementing step by step a new program in your nervous system. You have the ability to do that because you are sovereign. But in order to access that sovereignty, you must learn to put the instructions into actions so you can actually metabolize your nervous system to hold that capacity. So once you do that, now you're bringing forth that future version of yourself. Because nobody, again, I can't speak for everybody, but nobody's mission here is to be broke. Okay, nobody's mission here. Yeah, I'm my mission is to be broke. Nobody's mission here is to be broke. If that is, then you got some deeper work to do. Okay, got some real deep work to do if your mission here is to be broke. But what happens is we accept, because we accept that scarcity mindset, that scarcity consciousness, that this is all I get. This is it. And it's a lie. That is a plague, and it will continue to plague you in everything that you do. So let's go into the business, right? So this is the second thing. Let's go into, if you are a healer, if you're a person who is in business and you serve people from a more conscious place, no matter if that's plant medicine, herbalist, consulting, spiritual consulting, whatever it may be. Okay. All what I'm saying is that that thought form is leaking into everything that you do, every single thing that you do. So there is a want to make more money, but instead of putting yourself in that order, in that structure, getting in alignment of how to actually direct the money, we tend to soften what we ask for. Y'all notice that, especially in a spiritual community. So when we are offering something, instead of saying, this is the problem and I have the solution, and this is the price. Simple. That is order. That is instruction. That is a clear signal for the people who are ready. But instead, we say, this is a problem. This is a solution. And if this resonates, go ahead and sign up. We use those words. If this resonates, Marie's like, yeah, if this resonates, if this aligns, if this is interested. So anytime you're saying that, you're actually pulling yourself out of the coherence of receiving, because words have power. So you pulled yourself in Comedicism, it's called mayat. So you pull yourself out of the order of what you said you desired or you wanted. I would say desired. I'll get into why I say desire versus want in a minute. But you literally just told yourself that you don't want it because you have leaned into the softness of what you're asking for. And it's due to us being sensitive. We are sensitive. We're sensitive to energy. We're sensitive to uh, people's capacity. But guess what? You're also a business. You also have to take care of your life. You have a certain lifestyle you like to live. You deserve to be resourced. So that ask is not coming from a place of ego. That ask is coming from a place of what is called reciprocity. So now, when you are more stable inside yourself because you have organized yourself in the reciprocity, you state what you deserve with no explanation. And this is why so many are lost in the conscious community, completely ungrounded and calling it freedom, calling it peace. But yet you're not moving the way you know that future self is telling you to move. So the future version of yourself is asking for you to get it together. And when I say get it together, like get in order, get some structure around what you're doing. When you resist instruction, you're resisting that part that actually asks for that. And so this happens in even, it happens all the time, but I think about when I had a school, and I'm not saying all my students because my students are wonderful, but I have seen, okay, I'm going to give you this instruction because you asked. You came into this container. You signed up for this, right? And my job as a guide is to give you some clarity around the things that are confusing as you're moving through whatever it is that you're moving through, and provide clear instructions from a place of experience, from a place of knowledge and wisdom, from a place of implementation of what I did, right? Because that's what guides are supposed to do. So I provide that instruction. And people don't apply it. Some people don't apply it. So what happens is they come back with the same question. They'll come back even more confused. Or they'll say, well, nothing happened. Nothing happened because you didn't apply the instruction. Or you stay stagnant. And from stagnation, all happens is that you get worse because there's no such thing as staying stuck. According to law of thermodynamics and energy, there's no such thing. And this is the cycle. This is the vicious cycle of identity scarcity. It's vicious. So the second thing is to apply the instruction that you're asking for. You are seeking information, but yet you're not applying anything. Really sit with that. I'm going to say that one more time. You are seeking information, but not applying anything. Who is in command in that moment? Your past version that is still holding on to the resistance of authority. And so you continue to spin in a cycle. And then when I talk about installing new programs, what's beautiful about that is that now with that spiritual wisdom that you have gained, you know what not to do and you apply it into your life, into your nervous system, into your consciousness. And that is real true sovereignty really happens. You get the guidance from people who have done the work, they have the receipts. And when I say receipts, I'm talking about their life is in order. You know what I mean? Like you could feel that their life is in order. It's not about perfection. Like we all move through things, but when you feel into the resonance, you feel like, okay, yeah, they know what they're talking about because of the resonance. And guess what? I have many mentors throughout my experiences and years, many. And guess what? I didn't like everything they said to me. I didn't like it. But guess what I did? I applied it anyway. Because it's not about what you like and what you don't like. And that takes maturity. And you got to sit with, why is this triggering me? Because what they're saying is probably hitting something that maybe you were afraid to not take a look at. But that's what a good mentor and guide is supposed to do. And I'm telling you, when you can open yourself up to that, you're actually accelerating your capacity to receive that future version of yourself. I remember when I first moved here, my process of moving here to Dominican Republic, and I always go back to this. And I remember after a powerful ceremony, I got the sign, the signal, we'll say the signal of moving. And that future version of myself was like, it's time. It's time. And this is the time to do it. You don't wait until X, Y, and Z. You don't need to go ask 3 people what they think. You don't need to go ask permission to live your life. That don't make no sense. That never made no sense to me. I never moved like that. However, leaving the United States is a big deal because you're leaving the ordinary, you're leaving your family, your friends, you know, the everyday normal routine and stepping into something new. And I didn't know where I was going per se, but I didn't know it was time for me to leave. And it wasn't from a place of, I hate the United States and I'm trying to escape. I just always seen myself living somewhere in the Caribbean. That's how my future version of myself would show me. You're living in the Caribbean. And I'm like, wow, that's nice. I I'm trying to get there. I want to get there. So, with that said, after I got that clarity through higher self, That's what I say, the higher self, the divine. I was able to listen more clearly and make some very challenging choices that look crazy to everybody else. Absolutely insane. Because on the outside, everything looked great. I was living in a nice apartment. I was one of the top therapists at the detox center I was working at. I had my spiritual uh, little, we'll say, practice at my house. I had friends. I was living in South Florida. I'd go to the beach. I was chilling. I was chilling. That's how it looked on the outside. But on the inside, I knew that it was time for me to raise the floor. So I started to dismantle. I forced, if you will. And when I say force, it's not a bad thing. When I say force, I listened and I took action to the instructions that I needed to do in order to break the chains of that reality. Because that future self was strong and it was coming in so strong. Every day I see myself somewhere in the Caribbean. Every day. And it would not stop. So really hear me when I say your vision never dies. If it's a real vision of your life, you're always thinking about it. If you just sit and release the tension and the noise and sit with that clear signal, you will see clearly that there is a future version that is trying to get you to pay attention to it. And so once I start doing that, were there things that came up that I questioned? Absolutely. I definitely questioned my movements for sure. Like, am I doing this the right way? Is there a right way? Should I be doing this? I don't even know where I'm going at. But within that process, even as those thought forms, which were the old identity that's attached to scarcity, that's attached to a outcome that keeps you suppressed, I still made the moves. I got rid of my apartment. I held on to the car as long as I could so I could get around. I did some Ubering, some Uber Eats, DoorDash. Gave my 2 weeks to the place I was working with. I was already contracting, so I wasn't on like a regular salary, but still respectfully given them the 2 weeks. And as I'm going through that process, I had a friend at the time who I did tell a little bit of about my process, and she was just like, "Why?" She didn't understand it. I said, "Because it's just time. I can't really explain too much about more of that. And guess what? I don't feel the need I have to. I don't have to explain. It's just time." And she's like, "Well, you have the education, you have everything here." And I said, "Yeah, and this chapter of my life is complete." And so what you have to realize is that we go through these chapters and it is your responsibility to know when that chapter is complete. And what we tend to do, we tend to hold on to those chapters. We still want to continue, but all it is going to do is waste time, waste years. And this is how people, when they get older, they live in the woulda, coulda, shouldas of life. Oh, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have done that. And I just never been the person that was interested in living in a woulda, coulda, shoulda life. I'm not interested in that. And so you have to adopt a mindset that is commanding your life, literally commanding it. And that is the sovereign mindset. It's sovereign. You don't ask for permission. Anytime when you ask for permission, you are taking yourself out of that knowing. Now, along the way, do you open yourself up to guidance? You better. You better open yourself up to guidance, because that guidance is coming from your future version of yourself to guide you into that direction. But the guidance is just instructions. So there's no need to resist it. Apply it. So as I'm moving through that, I had a former mentor at that time, and he was a BOGO shaman, so he really didn't have too much to say, but just keep going. Just keep going. And he understood it. And that's all I needed in that moment of doubt. Because you're going to go through doubt. You're going to go through a lot of psychological restraints. And so I always call it, just like in a spiritual thought of coming into awakening, there is a psychological warfare when it comes to scarcity, because the scarcity pattern is there to suppress you. It's there to lock you in. It's there to keep you exactly where you don't want to be. Just think about that. You don't want to be there. But at the same time, what people do in spiritual communities, they get spiritual, and then they use spirituality as a way to dismiss the scarcity away. And that is just called spiritual bypassing. That's what that's called. So you're lying to yourself over and over and over and over again. And then you're going to these leaders and these teachers, and guess what they're doing? They're lying to you too, because they haven't expanded. Because this process is not a game. I just really need to make that clear. You do need to have a conviction about yourself and come into that warrior. Like, you get to the process of love and light and fuck around and find out. Like, that's where you want to be at. That's where you want to be at. Like, that's called balance. Without that other side of you, you're going to keep on hitting the wall, because scarcity is energy. It's an entity, just like depression, just like anxiety. These are all energetic signatures that we play into constantly. So when you start really looking at it, it's like the warrior got to come out. The warrior of love for self. It's not anger. It's just like, I'm done. Just like how you break up with somebody who maybe was abusive, maybe was physically abusive, psychological abusive. You hit a certain point where you're like, this is too much. Something slaps you in the face or awakens you, and you're like, okay, I'm done. Like, this is like, you hit your bottom. And so part of financial scarcity is getting to a place of, when is your bottom? Like, what level of a bottom are you looking for in order to wake up and realize that you're complete with this lesson? Like, you're just done with it. Like, okay, I understand it, and it's time to evolve. And remember, you have a choice there. And if you're listening to this, you really know you have a choice now. So from there, as I stated, going back into my story, just so I could complete it, I was able to get through the psychological layers of what that identity was trying to pull on me. I generated income and moved. And now here I am in the Dominican Republic on an island, enjoying my life. That doesn't say I arrived. I'm not saying I arrived, but I won that part of me back, that future version. And from here, when you're in a position now where your environment is matching your frequency, now it's just more levels. Now it's just like, okay, now we can build. Now I can build. Now I can really start to magnetize all of the abundance, the prosperity, because you're no longer in that constricted version of yourself anymore. I trust that you are following me on this. I trust that this is landing. And then once you are able to see that, now you start to implement the systems and the structure that is necessary for you to build wealth. Okay. So coming into the building of wealth is understanding that wealth is done just like the deepest healing. It's done in the dark. It's done where nobody can see it. And guess what? It is boring as all hell. It's boring. However, through that boredom, what you gain is strength and conviction. So you're moving through repetitions because that's what builds wealth. Wealth compounds over time. So you move into this layer, just like how you go to the gym so you get stronger. You move into understanding, okay, what are the systems that I need to put in place in order to generate more income? Because you may already have, and like I said, I usually attract people who already know what they're meant to do here. They're not newbies. You know, you have done work on yourself, you have offerings you want to share, and you don't have to be a certain title. It could be, you could be a CEO, you could be a businesswoman, it don't matter. But you know that you're meant to serve at we'll just call it higher level, okay? From where you're at. You have to implement the structure in order to gain that vision so you can be a steward of your wealth. You become a steward of your finances. So what do I mean by structure? I mean that putting things in automation that doesn't deplete your energy anymore. And there is too many tools out here now to make any excuses. We got AI. Like I said, Claude is my second husband. And you utilize these tools as a way to build the structure and the systems. You start to learn. And that's the thing. This is what I'm saying. And I'm going to keep on going back to it. You got to apply what you are learning if you want to gain the outcome. So if you're just reading all this information about AI and not implementing it, you're doing the same thing when it comes to your financial sovereignty. The same exact setup, how maybe you showed up in your spiritual awakening, the resistance. You got to submit to guidance and help. It's just that simple. And so you start to listen to people who are on that level that you're trying to reach, or I'm going to say try, you desire to reach. And you listen and you write it down and you implement and you measure the outcome. Did it work or it didn't work? And we don't give ourselves enough time to measure the outcome. We don't give ourselves enough time because we're so used to fast. We want everything so fast. Everything is so anxiety based and urgent. Wealth cannot be built like that. It won't stand in that capacity. That doesn't mean you won't be able to generate, but watch how fast that money goes out your bank account because you haven't implemented any structure around it. You're not directing it. Because guess what? Money is energy too, boo. It's the same. And money loves structure and order, loves it. And wealthy people, they like, oh, okay, well, then I'm implementing everything that I learned on the back end so I can start directing that energy into the bank accounts, getting your LLC, doing the things that, again, they're boring. Can't put on a video and promote it on Instagram. It's like, ain't nobody gonna watch that. Ain't nobody gonna watch that. But you're building momentum. You learn financial literacy. You learn the language of money. And as you're moving through that, will there be some layers that come up? Yep, absolutely. And that's why I'm saying your spiritual journey is not over just because you broke free from the matrix. Your spiritual journey is not over. This is the cap, the top of your spiritual journey is becoming financially free. It's like you went to the bottom and you gained the wisdom. Now it's time to apply that wisdom into this life, into the human form of who you are. And part of that is breaking free from the scarcity programming. So you implement those systems and you continue to build momentum. And what happens with that is you become much stronger. And I will say this, what also changes is your relationship with money. Because now you see, oh, I command money. Money doesn't command me. I command it. And a lot of people come from what is called the paycheck mentality. So the paycheck mentality is we all been conditioned in some way, shape, or form, especially coming from the Western world, that you wait for 2 weeks and then they deposit your check. Right. And so we are subconsciously programmed to wait for our abundance through a system that's actually controlling us. And we're used to trading time for money. That's saying time is money. No, it's not. That's a lie. Wealthy mindset is a shift. What you realize is that my time is precious. So I am going to generate so much money so I can buy back my time and enjoy my life. I'm going to say that again. Your time is precious. So the goal is to generate so much money where you can buy back the time so you can enjoy your life. No cap. And that's how you start seeing your relationship starting to change. And that's how you free yourself from the bondage of waiting for money to come in so you can move, waiting for money to come in so you can just, again, life, like just life, whatever that may be for you. That paycheck mentality is a deep, deep, deep seed of conditioning. It is very deep. And so wealthy people, what they learn to do, they learn to make money in their sleep. They learn to price what they are worth, what is valuable. Because guess what is valuable? Your time. Because you can't get it back, y'all. You can't. It's done. So when it comes to pricing, you don't price per hour. You price based off of the value that you are giving to a person who is seeking your services. And if you don't know that you're valuable, all you have to do is look at how your life experience has been and what lessons did you learn along the way. Because those are keys of wisdom that people would be happy to pay for. Because people got problems, y'all. Got problems. We all got problems that we want to solve. And so wealthy people know that. So what do? They focus on a service that's going to solve problems. Now, when it comes to your offerings as a person who is functioning in the spiritual community, it's the same rules, y'all. You have a service that's going to transform somebody else's life. There's no time attached to that, because that transformation is going to live longer than the hours you put into it. So in order to break free from that paycheck mentality, you start quantifying your value of what it took to get you to that point. And it's beyond your little certifications. Okay. Your little, even I pass out certifications. I tell all my students, it really don't mean nothing. It's just me acknowledging that you completed this training. So congratulations, but it really don't mean nothing. Okay. It's more so that you have grown and matured and you have transformed through this container. And this is just for you. This is for you to honor what you have participated in. But it doesn't define you, right? And so when I say beyond certifications, I'm talking about your experiences in life. How did you move through certain things? And you realize you gained some wisdom out of that. That wisdom is priceless. It's priceless. And we all have it. So now you build a course. You build offerings around the wisdom. Because wisdom is valuable. And so are you. It's the same. And so you share from that wise place. And this is what wealthy people do. They think about, okay, this is how I came out of that. Or they pick a product and they just sell that product because that product is solving people's problems. That is transformation too. It doesn't have to be so deep. You get what I'm saying? It really don't. Martha Stewart, big example. Martha Stewart decided to start having some ladies come over because ladies were asking for recipes, and they liked the way she designed. So she started having these gatherings. And then she said, oh, okay, I could make a full blown business from this. And that's how Martha Stewart became Martha Stewart. And all she did was help women, help regular housewives design their homes, create gatherings for people. Like she's masterful at it. Literally a master. Problem solved. She's a billionaire because of it. So know that, going back to the positioning I said at the beginning, if you think, or we'll say, if you know you are an infinite being, then know you are also wealthy. You are already wealthy. And it's just about reprogramming yourself through your own systems so your body can respond to that capacity to bring that into this timeline, and setting yourself up on the back end to receive. I trust that this helps. And if you are interested in continuing these conversations, let me know. Let me know. I love that. And I say that if, because I talked about if, but no, if you are really interested, let me know. Because I love talking about this. I love talking about uh, helping people to generate more abundance in their life. It is a passion, just like spiritual sovereignty is a passion, so is financial sovereignty. So if you're somebody who's watching this live, just continue to tune in, and I'll continue to be here every week. All right. Thank you all.